Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Moms. This is Dorothy Pilarski, and I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you that are signing on. And as you're signing on, I would ask that you say hello to us in the chat box, because it's always just a real thrill for us to know that you're there, because sometimes we wonder, is anyone signed on? So please do join us, and please do tell us where you're from. And again, my name is Dorothy Pilarski. Some of you have signed on dozens of times. Some of you, this is your very first time. So thank you for joining us. Hello, Judy from Detroit. Thank you for joining us. Rosina, great to hear from you, Rosina. Sorry I wasn't able to return your call, but it's nice to see you here. Liz Garcia. Liz Garcia and I were in kindergarten together, so we've known each other for a long time. Hello, my name is Vesna from Ajax. Hi, Vesna. So a big warm welcome to all of you. Again, this is Dorothy Pilarski from Midday Moms. We're faith partners with the Archdiocese of Toronto, and our ministry, just in case you don't know what it's called, it's really three simple words: CatholicMomsGroup.com, CatholicMomsGroup.com. And so today we're very blessed to have a special guest with us. His name is, drum roll, Marc Boudignon, and he is a very accomplished both director and editor, having worked on just dozens and dozens of Catholic productions. Marc, do you want to tell everybody just a little bit about yourself? I know that in a minute I'm going to put on our ministry video, but
Sure.
Maybe tell people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so, I'm a husband and father, born Catholic, like so many other people, kind of drifted away from the church, but then had a reversion experience basically around World Youth Day in Toronto. It just really opened my eyes. And, from there, I had been working in commercials, and I just sort of felt the Lord pulling me into Catholic media. And so, you just put one foot ahead of the other, and God leads the way, and the Holy Spirit inspires you. And then I ended up here.
So, yeah, so very excited that you've joined us today. And, so many people have mentioned so many wonderful and kind things about you. And I know that so many times when we're in ministry that, we don't hear these things, right? So just please do know that you're very highly regarded in the Catholic community. Again, this is Dorothy Pilarski, Midday Moms. Midday Moms was started as a result of the pandemic. Our mission as a ministry, CatholicMomsGroup.com, is to help parishes start Catholic moms groups. We're on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood. And we believe where 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 50 moms gather in prayer, turning to our Blessed Mother, that remarkable things do happen. I know that my own life has been dramatically impacted by my Catholic Moms group, which I've hosted for over 25 years. Anyway, I'm going to show you just a short video about our ministry, Catholic Moms Group. We are hoping that somebody here will feel inspired or a little nudge, yes, to go see the movie about St. Teresa, but we're also hoping someone's going to start a Catholic Moms Group and then do a parish showing of the movie, right? Like, why limit it to a theater? Let's get some personal, private showings of the movie. So I'm going to show you our Come Holy Spirit. There's parts of technology sometimes that I'm not the best at. Come Holy Spirit. So, okay, I got to start share again. There we go. So again, if you visit our website, CatholicMomsGroup.com, you'll see that we can help you start 3 types of groups: groups for mothers only, groups for mothers and tots, and also virtual meetups. When I was exchanging just a few pleasantries with Marc, he mentioned that he was an editor on one of the productions that I was involved with for Salt and Light TV. Marc, can you just tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Mothering Full of Grace, that was spearheaded by Gillian Cantor when she was at Salt and Light, and it was great. It was a great experience. I learned, so much, and just felt like the faith and the dedication that all you mothers out there put into your families, put into your own personal faith life, the faith life of your family. It was really inspiring.
Yeah, so it was so cool to find out that you were part of that production. I didn't know up until a few days ago. So if you're interested in starting a Catholic moms group, we have resources to start groups for mothers only, mothers and tots, or virtual meetups as well. And yeah, we're under the pastoral care of, Cardinal Collins, so it's all legit. And here's our short ministry video.
Mothers, by our very nature, we are nurturing, loving caregivers. We are social beings, made for friendship and community. We are also spiritual by nature, made by a loving God to know Him and love Him, and to pass this love of our Catholic faith on to our children. But right now, many mothers feel overextended, distracted, and exhausted. Though as Catholics, we have the community of our church, many mothers attending Mass could not name the moms sitting next to them in the pew they share. Community and support among Catholic mothers is desperately needed in this hectic and chaotic culture. Your parish needs you to bring these moms together.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Pilarski. I'm the founder of Catholic Moms Group. We at Catholic Moms Group are on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood. We exist to bring together like-minded, faith-filled mothers who crave community and are focused on spiritual growth, Catholic teaching, and fellowship. Can you imagine a thriving, engaged mothers group at your parish? A group of moms in love with their Catholic faith, ready to serve other mothers no matter what stage of motherhood they're at. Can you imagine what a difference that would make at your parish? Starting a mothers group, it's not rocket science, but working with a team who's done it before and who's done it dozens and dozens of times sure does help. The Catholic Moms Group membership site is an online community that offers training, resources, and dozens of tools for parishes to help them start a mothers group quickly and efficiently. We're here to provide you with a clear path to launching a Catholic Moms Group at your parish. All of our materials are 100% Catholic. We have clearly laid out meetup plans for both moms groups and toddler groups. We are obedient to the magisterium of the Catholic Church. We have created dozens of tools that are going to save you time and energy. And besides that, we love our Blessed Mother. We constantly turn to her for her intercession. You can make a huge impact in your parish, so join us. We are revolutionizing the way parishes start mothers groups by providing parishes with a Catholic mothers group starter kit and by nourishing and training a community of Catholic mothers group leaders across the world. It's time to start a mothers group at your parish. Join us today. So a big warm welcome to all of you that have joined us. We've got moms from Michigan. We've got moms from Detroit. We've got moms from Toronto. A big, big warm welcome to all of you. Again, Marc Boudignon is our guest. He has 25 years experience in film, television, editing, documentaries, and commercials. He loves being able to evangelize through media with the encouragement of his wife and daughter, and along with the help of his patron saints, Saint Therese, Saint Jacinta and Francisco, and Saint Teresa of Calcutta. Now,
Yes.
Marc, can you tell us a little bit about the movie that we want everybody that's here to see today? What movie is that? What's the title of it?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so it's Mother Teresa, No Greater Love. And it is the story of Mother Teresa's life, but it's much more than that too. It's really an exploration of her legacy, of the people who worked with her, the people who are still working, in the apostolates that she started, and just people who are really inspired by her to continue on her mission and just, her passion for souls and to help the poor. And yeah, it's filmed on 5 continents. So the film goes all over the world to find these people and these stories. And, there's lots of archival footage, archival photos. Some of them have actually never been shown before or published before. We had complete access to the archives of the Missionaries of Charity. We worked very closely with them. So, it's definitely a film for everyone. Just the people, their reactions that I've read and that I've heard, all different age groups, everyone can get something out of this film. It's just the reception of it has been amazing. And I just encourage everyone to really, to take a chance, because even though it's Mother Teresa, you don't necessarily, know that, what are the production values and is it going to be a good story? Well, I think from the reception that it's received in the US and in Rome and other places that the people are really getting behind this film. So we're very excited to bring it to Canada. So hopefully everyone can attend.
Now, one thing that kind of drives me crazy, and those of you that know me know that sometimes I'm a little bit too frank, but one of the things that, drives me crazy is, how difficult it is to get the word out about good Catholic media. And, that's one thing that drives me crazy, like, how do you find out about this stuff? And that's one of the reasons why we host Midday Moms. The other thing that drives me crazy is sometimes, whether it's Catholic moms or Catholic families or Catholics in general, like sometimes we're a little bit lazy, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, if the movie isn't next door, I'm not going to it. Or if I'm too busy, like you try to get a mom to come out to Mother's Group, I'm too busy. But then what drives me even crazier is once they see the movie or come to Mother's Group, they're so thrilled and excited. Can you tell me a little bit about the challenges that perhaps you have faced getting the word out about this movie, and what could each of us here do today to help you get the word out?
Well, really, I think the basis of a lot of Catholic media is really word of mouth, and word of mouth where people who and trust them, their opinion, where they are with their faith life, when they endorse something, and they do so wholeheartedly, then that really carries a lot of weight. So, obviously, I would say pretty much all of you, there might be a chance that there's someone out there who has happened to see it in some way, but most of you will have not seen it. So you're sort of going by a little bit of faith yourself in that this is a good film. But, if you happen to see some of the comments on social media, which is really, I've not actually been in a public screening of this film, but the comments that I've seen on social media, the people are just really responding. it's very amazing. So I think that people can take that step in faith and believe that this is definitely worth going to see. But, I do know that there's often complications. You have to arrange for babysitters. You have to commit that time when you could be doing other things. So it is a bit of a challenge to break through. And there's just so much other media out there vying for our attention. But I will say that there is something very special about going to the movie theater to experience a film with an audience. And, me and my daughter, we love going to the movie theater any chance that we get. But the other thing too, which I've talked about with other people who are producers on the film, the director, is that we have this thing nowadays where we don't give our undivided attention to a TV show or a movie that perhaps does deserve it, because we're always kind of like with one eye on our phone, scrolling through our emails or our social media timelines or what have you. It's just, there's something very powerful about sitting down and just being immersed in a movie experience. So yeah, again, I do hope that people come out and give the movie a chance. I think it's well worth it, and also to do so in the theater if possible.
So here today, I'm just looking at our chat box. I see several mothers group leaders actually from our ministry. We've got Risa from Port Hope, St. Michael's in Port Hope. We've got Christina, a mothers group leader in Etobicoke. So, and I know there was a couple of more, but for some reason my chat isn't scrolling. It's not, oh, there it is, it's cooperating. So another person that I recognize here, she's not a mothers group leader, but obviously is in Toronto, is Rosina, and then Vesna is from Agincourt. So for those moms that are in Toronto or those moms that are in Ontario, where can those moms, maybe to invite their mothers group to go this month or next month to see the movie? So where can they go in the month of November?
Right. Okay. So this is one of the things that we struck up a deal with Landmark Cinemas. So if you know that there is a Landmark Cinema close by, unfortunately, we don't have anything arranged, at least not yet, with Cineplex, which is the primary theater chain in Canada. So for some people, unfortunately, it might involve a bit of a distance. I think there's theaters in St. Catharines, in London, in Caledon. We have one out in Whitby in the East End. So I would just say, check the Landmark Cinema webpage to just sort of see where their theaters are. And I can guarantee you that if it's a Landmark Cinema, November 2nd and 3rd, it'll be there. It'll be showing.
Yeah, and one of our goals as a ministry is to help Marc and the team. We want to sell these 2 nights out, okay? My husband immediately, when he found out about it, went online. He says, I don't know whether I'll make the drive to Whitby, but I'm supporting these guys. I'm buying 2 tickets. Now, if we wanted to arrange a private viewing of the movie, what would that take? Is that something?
Yeah, I can't really say anything about that at this point. And to be quite honest, all of the deals and the contracts that are arranged for any of the theatrical screenings, which are really happening all over the world, and possible broadcast windows or streaming arrangements. So, I mean, all of this is just so much up in the air. And really, to be honest, we had some of these contracts and arrangements in place, but the film, because of the fact that, it was received really well in the States. And I don't know if you know, but it was actually for just 2 days showing, it was able to gross $1.2 million.
2 days, wow.
In 2 days, yeah. So, there's a hunger, there's a thirst for this type of filmmaking. People see that. And I mean, a lot of people, especially in the, the business world, the theater world, they see dollar signs, and that's fine. I mean, whatever vehicle it takes to sort of get the movie out there, because the movie's message is absolutely positive and needs to be seen and heard. So yeah, I'm sorry, that's kind of a long-winded way of saying I'm not actually sure when it can come to sort of a parish screening or an individual setting, but there's lots of things happening. And I mean, even like a DVD release is pending. So there's lots of things happening, but yeah, I mean, you're definitely your first chance, and your first chance that we can see in the foreseeable future would be the cinema.
Now, can you tell us some of the key moments in the film that sort of touched you, and how different audiences have responded to different moments? You know, what's been the response
Yeah,
at home in the
sure.
US?
I mean, I think, you know, we talked to people, and of course, you know, we did our own sort of like test screening, you know, as we were getting towards our fine cut. And it was amazing because people responded in different ways to different scenes. And some scenes that you kind of thought, well, that's a really nice scene, but not necessarily the most powerful, actually resonated the most with certain people. So everyone found their own sort of most interesting part of the film that was different from everyone else. For me personally, and I guess it's sort of the process of actually forming and creating the film, I think still the key scene for me, the key part of the film is the first one that I cut, and that's in Kenya, in Nairobi, and it's the sisters there who work with mentally and physically disabled children. And it was interesting because it was the first scene that we cut, and I put it together, and you know, like it's very much like you're trying to sort of feel your way around the material. You don't know what you have. You're hoping it's going to be good. You're hoping that you're going to bring out the best in the footage, and you know, as you bring it to life. And as I put it together, and we kind of created a rough cut, and I showed it to David Nalieri, the director, we watched it and we were like, wow, you know, we really kind of knew from that sort of nascent beginning cut of that scene, we had something really special. And so it really has like a special spot in my heart, because it was the beginning. It was the baby steps of the process. It was like, you know, a 5-minute scene that, you know, when you keep chipping away and you keep going after the footage, you know, it's a 2-hour film now, right? But that was the beginning, and it was a really auspicious beginning.
So what has your role specifically been in this film, and how did you get involved in it?
So I am the editor. You know, for everyone knows what an editor is, but just to kind of give you the thumb sketch, it's basically the footage comes into you from all over the world, in this case, and you work with the director and the scriptwriter. In this case, David Nalieri was both the scriptwriter and the director, and you sort of fashion the story. And then beyond that, you fashion the footage, and you create a rhythm with the shots, a rhythm with the flow from scene to scene. In this case, we played around with the linearness, the chronology of how we told Mother Teresa's biographical story, because we wanted to keep that interesting and fresh, and not just make it, you know, beginning, birth, and death kind of thing. And we wanted to interweave it with all the witness stories and the different apostolates. So it was a really, you know, back and forth affair. And a lot of it is, you know, you're just experimenting. The other thing that I did on the film was I was music supervisor. And, you know, I'm very, very proud, extremely proud of the work that our composer did. He wrote an original score for the whole thing, almost, you know, a 2-hour score. He did it in an incredible amount of time. And I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And I mean, I've seen the movie probably 100, 150 times. And so I catch myself kind of humming his score from time to time. And I fell in love with it. And we worked together to kind of finesse and really get the most out of the music, which really helps with the emotional impact of the film.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about a specific incident during your color correction process where something happened, you lost all power? Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So I don't know if everyone remembers hearing about this. Certainly the people in Toronto, downtown Toronto, would have remembered experiencing this. But there was I think it was mid-August, there was a really big power outage, multiple city blocks. It was east of Yonge, really just in the downtown core. People were leaving work early or whatever. So we were caught in the middle of that. We're working away, and you know, suddenly the power goes out. And when I say the power goes out, I mean in the whole place, the entire building goes black. So, you know, we're just getting out of our color correction suite, just trying to get outside, figure out what's happening. And I'm talking to our colorist, Marc Backley. And he tells me this is the first time that this has happened in this building. And you have to understand, I've been going to this building since the beginning of my career in commercials. So, I've been there, dozens and dozens of times for different things. He said, this is the first time this has happened in this building where even the backup generators went out. So we're walking out and he said, do you want to go grab some lunch? Okay, sure. And as we're walking towards lunch, he opens up to me and he says, you know what? It's really interesting, but this is the first time in my history of working as a colorist that I've backed up my project before going for lunch. He said, typically I just do it, twice in the day, once after lunch, once, at the end of the day. But something compelled me to back it up before lunch. I don't know why, but thank goodness I did, because, we lost all power. And he was just really struggling with that. I don't know why I did that. I've never done that before in my life. And he's, he may be Catholic. He's not a practicing Catholic. It was all, seeing this movie was all new to him. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I know exactly who inspired that backup. Thank you, Saint Mother Teresa. Thank you. Thank you, Holy Spirit.
Yeah, and this is just a huge encouragement to all moms, right? Like sometimes we get these little supernatural nudges that say, oh, I think I better check on my son, or maybe I'm going to hop in the car and drive over to pick my daughter up from work. And one of the things that we're trying to accomplish as a ministry, CatholicMomsGroup.com, is to encourage mothers to listen to those supernatural prompts. Like, we've become so busy and we've become so distracted that sometimes we're ignoring supernatural prompts from the Holy Spirit, from a particular saint. So thank you very, very much for that. Now, you mentioned that you had a number of sort of patron saints. Can you tell me a little bit more about how they came to be your patron saints, and what
Sure.
special role Saint Teresa of Calcutta has in your life and in your work?
Sure. Well, I guess to start at the beginning of the saints that I listed, and certainly there's many more. I mean, Pope John Paul II is a huge influence, and so many more, but those ones I guess are kind of the ones that really resonate with me the most. And that would be Saint Therese of Lisieux. I think we all, just to sort of briefly talk about her, I think we all sort of, especially when we were growing up, seeing some of the statues, hearing just about her, what we perceived as a dainty, pious way about her, you kind of formed your own opinion. But it was when I was listening to Ralph Martin's of Renewal Ministries, his talk about the life and spirituality of Saint Therese, it blew me away. Her little way was just so inspiring. I don't know. I can't really say much more than that. And obviously Saint Teresa of Calcutta was deeply inspired by her too, because she's named after her, right? That's the name that she chose. I believe she chose, or I don't know if it was given to her, but obviously she was deeply influenced by Saint Therese of Lisieux. Saint Jacinta and Francisco, like so many other Catholics, very devoted to the message of Fatima, but it was really their personal austerity, Jacinta's willingness to mortify herself, and Francisco's just deep devotion to spending time in the chapel and being with our Lord and just making reparation. And it all kind of sort of culminates in having a devotion to Saint Teresa of Calcutta, because she was devoted to the Eucharist in the same way that, Saint Francisco was devoted to visiting the chapel all the time. That's, immensely inspiring to me, because I have a huge devotion to visiting Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. We are lucky enough to have a perpetual adoration chapel nearby. And also Saint Teresa of Calcutta's spirit of mortification. There was a picture, we didn't get the chance to use it in the film, but it was one of the first pictures that I saw that was provided to me. And it was so inspiring. And I wish I could have put it in the film, but there was really no place for it. And it was a picture of Mother Teresa's feet. And, maybe you know the story, maybe you don't, that when the sandals would come in, they would be delivered, and people would get the sandals, the poor people. Mother Teresa would let everyone else get the sandals first, and then whatever sandal was left, she would take that. And of course, they never fit her feet properly. Her toes and her feet were all contorted, and it was like just a sign, like a huge visible physical sign of how much she was willing to suffer herself for the poor, and to suffer with Jesus.
Yeah, and I guess, we live in a culture, and I'm victim to it just as much as anyone else is, where, we're always seeking comfort, right? And so when we come across a saint like Saint Teresa, it's kind of a bit of a tinge to my conscience, right? Because I'm always like, oh, what's the best looking piece of cake instead of, and so sometimes I find myself after watching movies about saints that, oh gosh, Pilarski, you got to go to confession. Now I'm going to try, I don't know if it's going to work. I'm going to try. I think I've got the movie itself here. Hold on just a minute. Wait, that's that. Come Holy Spirit. Come Holy Spirit. There we go. Now, is there a section? Can you see that here?
I can, yeah.
Yeah, now, is there a place I should fast forward to, or?
You know what? I'm just trying to think of where. You know what, if you skip ahead to maybe go back a little bit.
Hold on.
Maybe around like the
Teresa of Calcutta. I am Patrick.
Maybe around the 5th minute.
Night of
the 5th minute. Okay, hold on. Let me just...
Actually, maybe go to actually about the 3rd minute. We can just play the introduction. That would be
okay.
Yeah, just after the Supreme Night there.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah. I know it's hard with such a...
It was radiating Christ.
Yeah.
She prayed that prayer every day. Dear Jesus, it's you shining on others through me. She recognized that it was Christ. It was to be his light.
Her holiness did not keep her away from people. Rather, it brought her to the midst of people. And when she heard, come be my light, and she went to the dark holes of people. So she wanted to be like there in the midst of people.
Lord, make me a channel of your peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love. That where there is despair, I may bring hope. That where there are shadows, I may bring light.
Let me just ask you a quick question here. Would you say that this film is appropriate for any age? Like, can anyone go at any age, or?
I mean, I would say yes. And I know a lot of people that I've heard have brought their whole family. I don't think that that's an issue. The only thing that I would say is if you do have especially sensitive children, we know that Mother Teresa and the Missionaries of Charity worked with lepers because, we go to, to some of those, we see some of the lepers that Mother Teresa worked with in the past, but also some of the leper houses that the Missionaries of Charity work with today. So you do see a little bit of, physical disfigurement. There is also a segment where we talk about the Muslim and Hindu riots in Bengal, which it's all archival footage. And we don't show, there's nothing gory or anything like that. Absolutely. The only thing I would say is for perhaps, for small children, it's a long movie. It's almost 2 hours. And the content can be a little bit deep and maybe a little bit too, well, boring for children, but obviously great for adults.
Yeah,
So,
now the other thing too is, as a mom, I would encourage you to sometimes, like, sometimes to claim authority and say, okay, guys, we're going to see this movie, right? And because I find that a lot of times, parents are almost afraid to claim their authority, and that, yes, it might involve having to have a conversation beforehand saying, this film is about, a particular saint. And so would there be any discussion points that you would recommend that parents sort of frame it for even their millennial kids or their young adult kids or youth groups? Like, are there any ways that you would frame it before you go into it? Because it could be quite, I think a lot of millennials, a lot of young adults are hungry for meaning, and they're hungry for heroes. So is there anything that we can do on the front end to kind of pave the way?
Sure. Well, to that point, let me just say that I actually would really encourage parents to take their children, if they're not especially small, because what I'm hearing from families and the way that they're responding to this film is, so many times I said, we were a multi-generational family who went out to see this film, and all of us loved it. And in fact, there was somebody who had said that they took their daughter to see the film, and the daughter was so inspired, because you have the crazy thing for people of a certain age to understand is that so many people out there don't even know Mother Teresa. We are so used to seeing her on the TV, in the news, traveling all over the place. She was always, growing up, just synonymous, the name Mother Teresa synonymous with living saint. So you just assume that everyone knows about her, but no, there's a whole generation of people coming up who have never heard about her. So when they experience her in this film, I mean, her life is just so inspiring. It speaks for itself. So anyways, to get back to my point, was the mother had said that her daughter saw the movie and was so inspired by Mother Teresa. I guess she had a project, a paper that she had to write or something for her confirmation class, that it was going to be on Mother Teresa, whom before seeing the movie, she'd never even heard of.
Well,
yeah, to get to your question, discussion points. I mean, we do deal a little bit with sort of the historical context and what prompted her to begin the Missionaries of Charity, because that was a real, was a calling, a special calling, a call within a call for her, but it was also a leap of faith for her. So it happened in that historical context. But yeah, I mean, you could talk to them about the idea of private revelation, and the conversations or the messages from Jesus that she experienced, because we talk about that. You can talk to them about, well, what is a dark night of the soul. We talk about how she experienced that, and how that is a sign of growing closer to God, not being separated from God. And certainly, any of the stories, any of the apostolates of real people in need who the Missionaries of Charity are helping, just to give them a sense that, yes, many of us are comfortable in North America, very comfortable. But there's, a whole world out there, and we do try to show it in the film, a whole world out there of people in need. And yeah, I mean, I think that maybe perhaps sometimes we don't give the youth enough credit that, they're aware of this. Is just sometimes they need a little push to be reminded, as we all do.
Yeah, no. So what is it that you personally most admired about Saint Teresa of Calcutta?
Well, definitely her humility. We talk a little bit about how, like I was alluding to, how she was, a Catholic celebrity, if you will. I mean, she was an icon, certainly, of the 20th century. And the fact that she was just so supremely humble throughout it all. I mean, most people, if you're not rooted in Jesus, your head starts to swell, and you really get puffed up. And but no, I mean, she was completely and entirely devoted and rooted to Jesus and to the poor. Also, just her sense of mortification, her willingness, and her eagerness, really, to suffer for the sake of Jesus, to be connected to Jesus in his passion, in the way that she lived day to day, in the way that she helped the poor. And then finally, again, just her devotion to the Blessed Sacrament. None of her work, none of her sister's work happened on its own. It was an outpouring and outflowing from the time spent in adoration that they would do each day. So I try to live that in my own faith life. And St. Teresa of Calcutta, she just inspires me in those ways.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more about your thoughts on evangelizing through film? Like, do you think it works? Can you maybe take a secular friend that doesn't have any religious convictions or ties and say, hey, let's go see this movie. Do me a favor. I really want to go see it. What are your thoughts on evangelization through film?
Yeah, I mean, everyone is different, but I think that evangelization through film is definitely one way, because people, a lot of younger people coming up now, they want their media much more interactive, but there's still a firm place for film in storytelling, and people connect with stories. It doesn't matter whether you're Catholic, religious of any other faith, or atheist or whatever. We all need stories. We all sort of relate our lives through story, through narrative. And so, yes, I definitely believe that there is a place for evangelization today with anyone through film and through all sorts of media. And I think, I think of another, hopefully soon to be saint, but a blessed anyways, Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati, who, lived among a certain class of people. He was young, he had friends. I think many of them probably didn't care about their faith, but he would invite them to church, invite them to go, pray in front of the Blessed Sacrament. And, we'll go out and we'll, have a little party afterwards, but first let's go to church. And it was just, I guess it helps if you have a compelling, personality and you're charismatic and you can draw people that way. I can't do that, but St. Mother Teresa, I think she can. And so if you experience her through film, she can touch anyone's heart.
Now, one thing I'm kind of quote unquote big on in these midday mom sessions is for all of the moms that are out here today, I kind of want to remind you, right, that you're here for a reason. And the reason that you're here isn't just quote unquote to enjoy this 1 hour together with Marc and I. It is our prayer and our hope that after Midday Moms, like something is stirred in you. Now, how can you help this movie production, this production of, Mother Teresa? How can you help it become more popular? Well, there's a couple of things you can do. Number one is go to the movie. Like if everyone that was here, I think at one point there were 27 of us. If all 27 of us went to the movie and we brought someone, that's something very practical that you can do. Another thing that you can do is, buy 2 tickets, put them in an envelope and give them as a gift, either to your adult kids, to your in-laws, to the religion teacher. So go online, buy 10 tickets and give it as a gift to somebody, right? Many, many years ago, I used to host a Saints Club at my kids' elementary school. And I was so surprised in talking to a lot of the little kids saying, oh, Miss, we've never been to St. Michael's Cathedral. And I'm like, what? We're at Dixie, close to Sherway Gardens, and you've never been to the cathedral? Really? And then, Miss, I've never seen a Catholic movie. And I was like, what? Really? You go to a Catholic school and you've never seen a Catholic movie? And so I started the Saints Club with the help of some volunteers and a very dedicated school principal. And, our Blessed Mother saw to it that our Saints Club took busloads of kids down to the cathedral, right? It's like, you've never been to the cathedral? I'm going to take you, you know? And then another thing that we did as a Saints Club, now this was many years ago when my kids were in elementary school, we literally took the entire school, because I had the principal on side, Deidre Furlong, who's now retired, but we took the entire school, busload to see the movie St. Therese, because again, you know, their families weren't taking them. And so I thought, okay, you know, as a part of our religion class, the Saints Club, and the principal was, so I'm also encouraging each and every one of you to go speak to your religion teacher, okay? And say, look, there's this movie on, why don't we arrange a field trip to go see this movie, St. Teresa of Calcutta? And, you know, sometimes it might mean for you to say, hey, I'm paying for the bus. I've got no problem with that. You know, sometimes I ask moms, think about the way that you spend money, for example, right? And like some of us would think nothing of buying our child, you know, like a new pair of Nike running shoes, and that's, you know, sometimes $200, sometimes $300, of buying them an iPad, or of buying them a trip somewhere. And like, I'm always begging mothers to get creative about how they spend their money. Well, like, why not buy, you know, 30 tickets and start saying, hey, I got a ticket, you coming? You know, so anyway, again, you know, some things that drive me crazy, and, you know, I always have to go to confession after Midday Moms, but I was on Facebook the other day, and one mom was going on and on and on about, you know, movie night and how they all went to see Hocus Pocus, these little kids. And I was like, are you kidding me? Why are we taking our kids to things that are going to frighten them, mortify them, and possibly introduce them to the demonic? But we can introduce them to saints, right? Like, sometimes as mothers, we don't want our kids to become frightened, but yet if we saw what they were watching, we'd be frightened, right? And so what is the Holy Spirit calling you to do? What is Saint Teresa of Calcutta calling you to do? Is she calling you to speak to the religion teacher? Is she calling you to grab your 4 kids and go? Maybe you've got kids that you were the godmother and you haven't really done anything in a long time, and you can give 2 tickets to your godchildren to go see this film. Please, I beg you to do something. There's, you know, no benefit to Dorothy Pilarski and company for me saying all of this, but I'm just very passionate about how much media our kids are exposed to, but they're not exposed to Catholic media. And that's within our power as moms, right? That's within our power, especially young moms. Okay, so Rosina has a comment here. The Knights Council and the GTA are promoting the movie as well. Hip, hip, hooray. Parish bulletins should be promoting this. Yes, maybe, you know, talk to your parent, maybe buy 2 tickets for your parish priest as a gift, right? Okay, let me see. Any other comments here? Gail said she's purchased her 2 tickets. And she has a testimony here. My father was dying in the hospital, and I prayed to St. Teresa of Calcutta. He reported to my mother that an East Indian lady was entering his room and massaging his feet. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. Okay, so we're winding up here. Are there any other parts of the film that you think I should try to go back to, or do you think we've done the things?
Sorry, if I could just address just what you were saying before about, you know, trying to get groups together to purchase tickets. And I think that that's just a great idea. And I just know of certain instances in the United States when they were showing the film, that if you find that the film might be sold out, or there's not enough seats, especially for group tickets in the cinema that you would be going to, I know instances where they've opened up extra screens because there's been so much demand for this movie on a particular night. So, don't be discouraged. Maybe contact your theater, or maybe even if you contact somebody through the website, which is motherteresamovie.com. And perhaps maybe we can communicate with the manager at whatever landmark cinema it is, because we want as many people as possible to have the opportunity to see it. And I would personally feel very sad if somebody really wanted to see it and there just wasn't enough spots for them or their group. So there's always a possibility. There's always hope that they could open up another screen. And so we just encourage you to try. Anyways, that's the best we can do.
Yeah, and I always say too, one of our best sources to get moms to attend Mother's Group is word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
And women love to talk, right? I think I've been a pretty good example of that. And so once you get off Midday Moms, why not call 3 people and say, I just watched Midday Moms. There's this movie coming out. Are you coming with me? I'm going, right? So we encourage you to get on the phone and start talking about the movie. So anyway, should I go back to the film? Is there anything do you think I've kind of missed what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I could say about it. It's just, it's been a huge undertaking for me. It was a little bit daunting at first. I've never done a film that's this long. And because we were trying to get it done for those initial screenings and the 25th anniversary of her death, there was a very hard deadline that we were working towards. And I just really feel as though, I could feel and I could see the hand of God working throughout this whole process. And I think, like I said before, there's definitely something for everyone to take home from this movie. And for some people, it's even a very, very emotional experience watching it. It would be emotional for me in bits and pieces, but because I've watched it and parts of it hundreds of times, it's interesting how you sort of the effect of it is kind of lost. And that's what makes it all the more surprising that when you release something into the world and then everyone can kind of experience it and, and comment on it, that when people come back and they have these fresh new eyes that they bring to it, these fresh new feelings, it's like, oh, wow, that feeling that I had initially so many months ago has kind of come full circle. So I'm just very proud of it. And I'm proud of the whole team and all the work that we've put into it collectively. And you know what? I guess the bottom line is that if, people can continue to support this film, support other stuff, especially stuff that's being produced by the Knights of Columbus, then we can make more and we can just really bring a lot more Catholic media that can uplift people because, we're a fractured society, and there's a lot of anger and sadness. And so let's bring some hope and love.
Yeah. And I think too, that the timing of this movie is beautiful because it's post-pandemic. I think all of us are kind of looking, we're looking for something to touch us. We're looking for something to show us that, out of suffering, good can come. And I think some of you that have attended, Midday Moms regularly, you've probably heard this story, one too many times, but my mom was 13 years old when World War III broke out in Poland, and she was pulled out of the rubble by Marian priests. And she saw her mom being pulled out of the basement of their home and losing a baby. It was quite obviously a horrific scene. And why I bring that up is that having my mom as a mom was a remarkable gift, because she was always joyful and she would always say, like, you think this is a cross? You should see what, this is not a cross, and I think when we look back on lives of women like Saint Teresa of Calcutta, and we see what she suffered and we see the suffering that she took on and the places that she went, that maybe it kind of sobers us up spiritually, right? Very recently, I was listening to something and I forget what, but the person was saying that each of us has a particular mission, and that sometimes we're living in a shroud of comfort. Sometimes we're living in a shroud of distraction, not destruction. Sometimes as women, I think we're living in a shroud of complaining. Like, I know sometimes I complain way too much. And wouldn't it be just horrible if at the end of your life you missed what your mission was, right? Like, okay, I spent my life being distracted. I spent my life complaining. I spent my life, but I didn't spend my life doing what God wanted me to do, right? And so I think movies like this are extremely powerful because sometimes they remind us how blessed we really are. And maybe, maybe this movie will be God's call to you to shake off the complaining, right? To shake off the comfort and to truly find what God is calling you to do. I'm going to ask you one last question, Marc, because it's personally just very intriguing to me that you went from corporate and commercial to work for our Lord. That's similar to my story. I used to deliver corporate training programs for the Schulich Executive Education Center, and then, for a number of American seminar companies. And I kept on praying, Lord, help me use my gifts for you. Help me use. How did you make that transition from corporate to, like, what happened? Like you mentioned World Youth Day, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of it, the genesis of it was just sort of seeing the joy at World Youth Day. I was living in Toronto, going to and from my job and just being very busy and immersed in my, my life. And, I would get on the streetcar and it would just be the throngs of young people who would be singing these songs and just radiating joy. And I guess I just wasn't completely satisfied with, where my career was going, with the politics involved with commercial making and, just that general sort of dissatisfaction. And it was like, I would look at this group of people and it's like, well, how do you have that? What is this? Yeah, I think that's the same story for a lot of people. But I will say this, it was actually very interesting. It's sort of like, again, how God's hand sort of works in this. So typically for, commercial houses, for post-production places for commercials, they're asked to do PSAs or sometimes kind of freebies. And in this case, it was political ads for the government, for the election. And it was for the Liberals. And I don't align with any party, but I will say that it was the same day that my boss gave me a very significant raise and then turned around and said, I need you to do this ad. And the ad was promoting their stance on abortion. And I wouldn't do it. I refused. So he'd given me a big raise. I had obviously accepted the raise, but then I wouldn't accept his abortion commercial. And, things kind of fell apart in our relationship pretty quickly after that. And then, a spot opened up at Salt and Lake Television. And, as with many jobs in Catholic media, it required a certain amount of a pay cut, but that's besides the point. But, it was a leap of faith, and it was obviously much more important work than I was doing in the commercial world. Although, that's not to slam the experience that I had in the corporate commercial world, because it really taught me a lot of good practices as an editor, which I'm still using today. And, many of the people, I had great working relationships with them, and it was a very excellent experience. But, this is where God wanted me to be. So, yeah.
No, well, and I'm definitely glad that you're here, and just a big warm thank you for all of your hard work, for all of your sacrifices. Excuse me, and a big thank you for joining us today. So
thank you for having me.
Yeah, so for all of you here today, we beg you to, our ministry is tiny, and we need your donations because we would like to reach more mothers. And in order to reach more mothers, boy, oh boy, wouldn't it be exciting if I had a team. But anyway, don't forget catholicmomsgroup.com. There is a donate button. If you enjoyed the show today, please make a donation because we need them. And I wanted to mention, it's not public yet, so, but you can tell anybody you want, but we just haven't had a chance to promote it, is that on December the 3rd, we're hosting an Advent retreat, and we're going to be doing some painting in the morning, and we're going to be having a speaker in the afternoon, and it's going to be at St. Benedict's Parish, and it'll be open to any Catholic mom in the Archdiocese of Toronto. So if you're interested, just put that on your calendar, hold it December the 3rd. We're having an Advent retreat for Catholic moms. And of course, our ministry has a table at the Archdiocese of Toronto conference coming up this weekend. So hopefully we can see you there. Okay, so anyway, so thank you, all of you. I like to end with a song. I'm so glad we had this time together, just to have a laugh and sing a song. Seems we just get started, and before you know it, comes a time we have to say so long. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mark. And
Thank you.
we'll be praying for you, your
Thank you.
family, and the success of the movie. Thank you for your commitment to Catholic media. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.